Okay,
Yep.
so Mr. Boswell, I'm Wesley Harris,
I'm Ryan Harris.
And I'm Tomas Morona.
and thanks for making time for us today. We were just wondering if we could have a little brief background on your experience in management with Decor LLC, and a little how you got to your position.
I'm working as a project manager. My actual title is a rig operations manager because that was what I had done with previous companies. But right now I'm working as a project manager primarily with the top sides. Decor is an offshore, well, actually, it's an oil company. We happen to have some offshore facilities, and I've got years of experience working on those and designing equipment to work on the platforms to allow them to do workovers, to drill, complete wells. Um, so that's basically, that is what I'm basically doing.
Okay, thank you. And how did you find yourself working at this corporation? What made how did that happen?
I was working at the time for a consulting firm, and I did a project for Decor. And when I presented the project to the owner and president of the companies of Decor, then they, I guess, liked my work and what I could do for them, and they made me an offer. And so I went to work for Decor, and I've been there for 9 years now, and been very happy with what they've done.
Start the video again. All right, so now I'll be saying what does your average day entail, and we'll go right into it.
Hold on.
All right.
Make sure everyone's quiet for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'll like find this point when it's done.
Alright.
All right, here we go. So, what does your average day entail? What is the wait first, go ahead. You were saying? Wait, I need to think of my words. So, what does your average day entail? Wait, damn it. This is a stupid thing. Sorry, something happened on the video. Alright, here we go.
Take 3.
Take 3, yeah. So, what does your average day entail? What are the, when you're going through the motions, what happens? What are you doing?
Well, I don't know that I have an average day, which is actually what makes my job enjoyable. I'm not doing the same thing all the time. Generally, if there's a problem to be solved on a facility, then management will come to me and they will let me know this is what we think we'd like to do. Can we do it? And then I get to work with some structural engineers. I'll work with operations people and just do some fact finding to determine what can be done, what should be done, what's the best way to do it. I work with the structural engineers to make sure it can be done. Typically, what I'm building is large steel assemblies, and so the structural engineers can tell me whether it's too heavy or it has to be located in a certain position because of the weight and the support members that are underneath the deck that I'm setting it on. So I will take and design it, and once it's designed, I have to forecast how much it's going to cost. I've got to write an AFE and see if I can get the money approved to do the project. Once the project is approved, then we start planning it and executing it. Sometimes it's we would just do all the work out on the field locations. Other times we'll build it in fabrication facilities and send it out there. Sometimes at the fabrication facilities we have to do a test rig up depending on how big the equipment is and what we're trying to do. That we may take months to build it on land, test it, and then take it down. As we take it down, we paint it and then send it offshore. So if I am planning projects, then I'm typically in the office or at our structural engineer's office. For most of the time, I may go out to the facility itself one day a month to take measurements, to verify things that are potential conflicts. I'll work with the operators to see what issues they would have with what we're doing, so I can make adjustments so that everybody's happy with the final product. If the project is approved and we're working on a project, then I'm typically on facility 3 days a week, just to make sure that it's going the way it is planned, to make sure everything is fitting the way it needs to fit, to make sure that we're not having conflicts from different contractors, whether it be welders, electricians, or whatever the case. They all have to work together, and they have to go in the proper order many times. So just trying to coordinate all the effort of the installation. So I get a pretty good variety of what my typical day is. I really don't have a typical day, which is nice. Then when the project's over, of course, then you have to go do the accounting and make sure that everybody has been paid properly and or resolve any conflicts, and make sure that we are under budget, hopefully.
Okay, so there's no average day then. You always seem to have something to do and it doesn't become stale. Okay, that's nice. So, since we're obviously business students and maybe getting engineering degrees, what does it take to get hired with a starting position with upward mobility as at your firm?
Engineers have a real good chance of upward mobility. We don't have a large staff of engineers. We have several departments, about 4 departments of engineers, and each are very small departments. So it's a pretty heavily run. The president of the company is an engineer and on down. So there is some opportunities. Depending on what department you would move into, then you obviously would work up through that department. They really don't cross too much from one to the other.
Okay. So, what type of skills do newly hired college graduates often lack?
Just experience. We're dealing with things that typically aren't taught in school. Well, I shouldn't say that. One department that's doing the drilling, another one that's doing the geology. You know, they have been trained, if they've gone to, say, School of Mines or other engineering schools, primarily just for that, so they understand it. Petroleum engineers. But if you are, say, a civil engineer or mechanical engineer, then you just don't have the experience to work on the equipment that we have. Obviously, you have the training to use your background to put things together, but you just need to understand what we're using and what we're doing with. So it's really just a lack of experience with new hires. Engineers, they will typically start on relatively easy projects, working with someone so they can be overseen, or someone to go to as a mentor to help them with any of the problems that they might run into, just because of the lack of experience. But for those positions, it's just a matter of doing it. For the petroleum engineers, if they're doing downhole work, then they can design things pretty well because of their training, but there's nothing like experience. Everything's different, so you need to talk to the people in the field or people that have done that job before and learn from them, because it's not stuff that's just out of a textbook.
Yes, and could you give us a couple, just a few examples of what engineers and business majors would be if they weren't going to these specialty schools? How they would learn on the job? Would they just learn with a mentor or just by shadowing someone who's been with the company for a while?
Yeah, typically they would be given a project that they could either do on their own, and then would be overseen by a mentor, or they might be assigned with someone to assist them to get a project done, depending on the size of the project and what it is.
So
But
does
it's typically just hands-on, just getting in and doing it.
so does your company mainly hire engineers, or do they also hire people with a business background?
Mostly we have engineers in our company. Obviously we've got CEOs. The owner of the company is actually a businessman by background. He's financial, but so we have people obviously that have to do the business side of it. But most of our work that we do in the field is engineering work.
Okay, so coming into the company with a business background, what would I kind of expect from that, like starting up? What would the type of work that I would be doing?
In the business realm, it's basically analysis. So if we had we have people in place to, process payroll, to process our accounts payables, actually to do our receivables. So we have people and systems in place to try to make that happen. Someone in your position that'd be coming in would be doing more of analysis of how well it's doing, putting together performance. We deal with banks. We have to deal with other geologists. Well, I guess that wouldn't be too much of the business side, but our business people get involved with it anyway, of meeting with the banks in particular. So on the business end, which I don't deal with too much, so I'm sorry I can't answer that terribly well, but that's what I would see them doing.
All right. Do you guys have any further questions that you guys would like to ask?
Yeah, just the last question, we were just wondering, just maybe one or two tips for us general students, like what.
So before we conclude, if you were in college, what tips would you give us college students?
Work hard, obviously. Have a good attitude. Attitude goes a long way when you're looking for jobs, and especially when you're learning new jobs. If you can get any internships into a potential business that you think you might want to try, absolutely do that. If you don't like it, that's fine. You've learned something. So just keep trying to progress yourself and set yourself up for success. If you work hard and you can work with people in a positive way, you're going to succeed.
All right.
It may take a little while.
Yeah.
Sometimes employment's tough to get, but you may not get the dream job right off the bat. You probably won't. But keep working at it, and you will get there.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your input.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys.